Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu to attend 5th Media Coordination Meeting of AU in Nairobi. Air Force plane crashes in Benue. Plus, in a moment. We'll begin tonight with President Bola Tinubu, who is set to travel to Nairobi, Kenya tomorrow, July 15, to participate in the 5th Media Coordination Meeting of the African Union, AU. The Regional Economic Communities RECs, the REITs of state and government, foreign ministers of the AU, member states and high-level dignitaries at the media meeting, which will take place on Sunday, July 16. The President will present a report on the status of regional integration in ECOWAS, highlighting actions carried out during the period under review by ECOWAS institutions, member states, the private sector and other stakeholders to peace, security and stability. President Tinubu, who will be accompanied by senior government officials, is expected to return to the country at the conclusion of the meeting. Omonoba Nedo Uku Apolopolo Egware II of Oba of Benin in the State House. As at the time of filing this report, it was not clear what occasioned the august visit. However, there are suggestions the meeting is geared at formally congratulating the new president on his coming into office, as well as to speak about issues as they concern the Nigerian people. It will be recalled that in May, the federal government appointed the Oba of Benin, Ewari II, as the announced this when the management of the institution paid a courtesy visit to the Oba in Benin City, Edo State, assured that the fortunes of the university would improve. Away from that, the federal government has cautioned state governments to be mindful of the deliberations on labor matters as issues of labor on the exclusive legislative list that is strictly for the federal government. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, Kacholam Daju, stated this in her keynote address at the 2023 session of the National Labor Advisory Council and implement guidelines and policies parallel to those developed by the federal government, stressing that with the removal of the petrol subsidy, there was a need to make a conscious effort to align the minimum wage with the current economic realities in line with international standards. She urged council members to view the meeting as their contribution to nation building, assuring them of the ministry's commitment to improving and strengthening the council within the available resources. Citizenship Administration in Nigeria. This was as the ministry reportedly denied increasing the cost of obtaining a citizenship expatriate resident alien card. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Interior, Oluwatoyin Akinlade, in a statement disclosed that the government was reacting to speculations on the social media that the card cost had increased from $2,000 to $3,000. Akinlade, while giving the assurance that the ongoing review of the draft handbook on citizenship, urged Nigerians to disregard the misinformation. From the red chambers now, where the Senate has approved President Bola Tinubu's social safety net program set up by the National Assembly. Reports say that the Senate also amended the 2022 supplementary budget following Tinubu's request for the approval. Recall that the President's request was contained in a letter he forwarded to the upper chamber to the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, which was read on the floor of the Assembly during plenary. Tinubu explained that the Federal Executive Council, led by former President Muhammadu Buhari, had approved an additional loan facility to the tune of $800 million to be secured from the World Bank to finance the social safety net program. The President noted further that the purpose of the facility was to expand coverage of shock-responsive safety net supports for all and vulnerable Nigerians to meet the cost of their basic needs. Elsewhere, the Chairman, Conference of Speakers of State Legislatures of Nigeria, disclosed that the country's constitution had been successfully amended to provide financial autonomy for state houses of assembly. The Conference of Speakers Chairman made this known during the induction of State House Speakers in Abuja. The Chairman, who is also the Speaker of the Bauchi State Assembly, noted that entrenched in the amendment are the modalities for the implementation of the autonomy. He expressed confidence that to the judiciary now, where another Abuja High Court has voided the arrest and detention of the suspended Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele by the Department of State Services. Delivering judgment, Justice Bello Kawu held that the arrest, detention and interrogation of Emefiele is in violation of the subsisting judgment and orders of Justice M.A. Hassan. Detention of the applicant for being illegal and a nullity in view of the subsisting judgment by another court delivered on 29 December 2022. Justice Kawu also made an order setting aside any warrant of arrest obtained or procured by the respondents. This is money laundering, threat to national security before any court. The court further granted an injunction restraining the respondents, particularly the DSS, from arresting, detaining or interfering with Emefiele's personal liberty and freedom of movement. The court finally granted an order of injunction directing and mandating the respondents, particularly the DSS, to forthwith release and exclude Emefiele from any arrest or detention. Still on judicial matters, the Presidential Election Petition Court, PEPC, has reserved judgment in the petition by the Allied People's Movement, APM. APM is seeking the nullification of Tinubu's election on the grounds that his running mate, Kashim Shettima, was not qualified. To final written addresses, the chairman of the panel, Justice Haruna Samani, announced that judgment was reserved until a date to be communicated to parties. Justice Samani added that the court plans to deliver judgment in the petition by the APM the same day with those of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. Meanwhile, a Federal Capital Territory High Court has dismissed the case against former Governor of Imo State Rochas Okorocha by the Economic and Judicial Process. The presiding judge, Justice Yusuf Halilu, premised his judgment on the fact that the EFCC had filed a similar charge against the former Imo State Governor at the Federal High Court, which case was 22 filed a 17-count criminal charge against Okorocha, bordering on diversion of public funds and properties to the tune of 2.9 billion naira. In another development, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has announced an increase in visa application fee paid by immigrants. The announcement came after a speech regarding an increase in public sector to live and work. He also said the surcharge paid for the state-funded National Health Service (NHS) by visa applicants by immigrants will increase significantly. Recall that the Prime Minister had said a few weeks earlier at the United States Embassy that he would be increasing fees for processing non-immigrant visa applications. In education, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has disbursed scholarships to 10 indigent students studying different courses at Usmanu Danfodio University, Sokoto. The university branch chairman of ASU, Professor Noura Al-Mustafa, said that the national body of ASU introduced the scheme by selecting a beneficiary for 100,000 naira education support in each of the universities across the country. Al-Mustafa said naira education support each. In a separate development, a Nigerian Air Force FT-7NI trainer aircraft has crashed in Makadi, the Benue State capital. According to reports, the incident happened today while on a routine training exercise. This in a statement today. He said 2 pilots on board the aircraft survived and were being observed in a military facility. Back here, Akwa Ibom State government has sealed a deal with a German Sustainability Limited, a subsidiary of Climate Change Project Innovations and Technology in the state. This was the outcome of a meeting of the Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moeno with the national team on climate change led by architect Ezekiel Nyaitok at the state government house, Uyo. Governor annoyed architect Nyaitok for using his contact to make Akwa Ibom leverage on the climate change initiative. He assured of the readiness of the state government to key into the energy transition plan of the federal government to enable it savor the benefits and embrace the climate change postulations. Governor lauded Etok for looking beyond party lines in his decision to attract the company to the state, describing him as a patriotic citizen with primal consideration for the development of the state, and urged others to emulate his sterling qualities, to charting a way forward using the Arise Agenda blueprint, adding that climate change would be clinically analyzed for full integration and implementation in the state. Earlier, the leader of the team, architect Ezekiel Nyaitok, had expressed appreciation to the governor for granting audience to the team despite the short notice. He highlighted on the composition of the National Council on Climate Change, saying that it has President Bola Tinubu as chairman, with Vice President. Etok noted that with a budget of about $7 billion for Africa, with Nigeria as an integral member, the state stands a good chance of benefiting from the project with the proposed establishment of Atmosphere AG, which he recommended as one of the amnesty programs scheduled in the South-South region of the country. He said Atmosphere AG has established a factory in Kano and is being set up in Kefi in Nasarawa State, while Akwa Ibom, on his part, the Director General National Council on Climate Change, Dr. Salisu Dahiru, informed the state administration that the council is the apex body for policies and decisions on climate change in Nigeria. Dahiru commended the state for developing the climate change infrastructure and described as a welcome development the determination of the state on the attainment of climate change adaptation operations, which he said would enable. Meanwhile, in response to the president's request for the passage of the 500 billion naira from the supplementary budget for subsidy palliatives and a subsequent approval from the House of Representatives, some residents of Uyo, a correspondent Blessing Dixon completes this story.
Questions abound as to the possible effect of the proposed palliative on poor and vulnerable citizens and whether the target beneficiaries support the
gotten to a common man. Me, I've never benefited from palliative. Even the lowest as the corona palliative, I did not see. How much more this fuel subsidy?
And then it affects workers. They don't increase their salary, but they are increasing fare. How would they pay to work, pay their fee, transport to work? And now a single drop is 100 naira. Some places are 200. And so to and fro is difficult. So I am begging them, either they can do something to fix it, not for them to put money in any palliative that will not benefit the masses. Few people will chop the palliative, because last one I did not even see it, talk less of eating it.
I believe it's not a step in the right direction because right from the onset, the government have not been spending their money wisely. The money should have been, I don't have physical cash, or they should have constituted a program such as the End Power and the other program that could have helped and cushioned the effect of the fuel subsidy. But this palliative is just a thing of the bourgeoisie class, the rich class, and taking the money for themselves. So I don't buy it.
Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, advised the government on some ideas they could channel the 500 billion naira to instead of on palliatives.
Please, if they want to do anything and they want people to benefit, they should put it into something else like agriculture, education, especially. Like me, that I'm a student. Before you know now, they'll do strike. Before you know, they'll say, go home and sit down. then they want to do palliative. That palliative, they already have a list of people that they want to write there, and they've written down their names and they want to share the money to. It's just they cover up for their underground works. So please, I don't agree to it.
I think, in my own opinion, they will use the money to fix problems in either refinery or in any way we have problem in fear. Not in anything like palliative, because we will just eat and it will finish. That problem will still exist. So for my own, I will beg the government to leave the palliative and concentrate on fixing the problem in that fear. Either if we have a problem in the refinery, they fix it, remove those things that are bad. They fix the new thing, use that money to fix those things. And before we know it, this fuel will come down so that we all will benefit at the end. Not to do things that will still affect us, even our generation, even the one unborn. So that is my own opinion.
Then my advice is to the government that they therefore come up with a program that can help the people that are not employed. Because if you check the rate at which employment opportunity in Nigeria, we are below par. So the constitute one that will help most of the graduates that are out of work and people that are out of work, just like the Empower and everything that can help cushion the fare. But coming out with a palliative, and this palliative that they said is 8,000 naira per homes. It's 8,000 naira per. What can 8,000 naira do? 8,000 naira cannot help anybody. So with such, it's not the right step in the right direction.
Apparently, the sum of 500 billion naira will be sourced from the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act of 819.5 billion naira for the provision of palliatives to Nigerians to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal. In Uyo, Blessing Dixon, Spectrum Television News.
Still to come in the news. Australia names first woman to lead its central bank. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. We're moving on to Africa, where the United Nations today said some 289 children are known to have died in the first half of 2023 while trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea to Europe. The figure is double that recorded in the first 6 months of 2022. The UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, said as it called for expanded, safe, legal and accessible pathways for children to seek protection in Europe. Meanwhile, UNICEF's global lead on migration and displacement, Verena Norris, said the true figures were like. Meanwhile, in a strong warning to the opposition, Kenya's President William Ruto has said protests will no longer take place in the nation, adding that the one planned for Wednesday will not be possible. It was speaking to supporters in Naivasha, central Kenya, 2 days after at least 10 people died during clashes between protesters and security forces. Opposition leader Raila Odinga has launched a series of demonstrations against tax rises, including the doubling of the tax on fuel that were signed into law last month. Odinga had earlier said that next week will see 3 more days of protests beginning on Wednesday. According to the Constitution, people organizing protests must inform the authorities of their intentions, but the president does not have the power to ban demonstrations. Zimbabweans who are found to have willfully harmed the sovereignty and national interest of Zimbabwe. The controversial patriotic bill faced widespread opposition from lawyers and activists, describing it as a grave assault on human rights. It comes weeks before a crucial general election, which the opposition believes will not be free nor fair. Meanwhile, the law imposes sentences ranging from fines to the death penalty for those who take part in meetings which encourage international military action or trade boycotts. The highest court upheld a ruling that he should return to prison. It would be recalled that on Thursday, the Constitutional Court upheld a ruling that Zuma should return to prison to complete a 15-month term for contempt of court, dismissing an appeal seeking to keep him out of jail. However, it was not immediately clear whether he would return to custody. Prison authorities said they were studying the judgment and would seek legal advice. Zuma served as president from 2009 through 2018 before being forced out by graft scandals. He was sentenced in June 2021 after refusing to testify before a panel probing financial sleaze and cronyism under his tenure. He was then freed on medical parole just 2 months into his term, a decision that was overturned and has now been confirmed. Grand leader Ousmane Sonko would be its candidate in upcoming presidential elections, brushing aside questions about his eligibility following a jail sentence. Sonko on Thursday was unanimously voted in as the Pastef Patriots candidate for the February 25, 2024 presidential elections. According to reports, ballots were cast by delegates in Senegal's 46 departments and among the diaspora, and that the results were validated by the party's senior regulatory authority. Meanwhile, Sonko has generated a passionate following among Senegal's disaffected youth by mounting a fiery campaign against President Macky Sall, painting him as corrupt and a would-be dictator. In the meantime, Ghana has defended its policy of sending asylum seekers back to Burkina Faso after the UN Refugee Agency urged it to stop deportations. Ghana's National Security Ministry said suspected terrorists and illegal migrants were being repatriated in accordance with international protocols. The ministry noted that Burkina Faso is in the grip of an Islamist insurgency, and Ghana is concerned that the militants could take advantage of the flow of refugees to infiltrate its territory. Meanwhile, war-torn Sudan's capital experienced a communications blackout for several hours today as the army and paramilitary forces waged intense battles across Khartoum. According to reports, vital internet and mobile phone connections, which have been critical to sourcing information and supplies during nearly malfunction, was not immediately clear, and some mobile network were restored. Still in Africa, the International Criminal Court (ICC) has opened a new investigation into alleged war crimes in the Darfur region of Sudan. ICC said ethnic violence has surged in Darfur as part of the conflict between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary RSF. The court's chief prosecutor Karim Khan identified the violence to include attacks on civilians, mass rapes, and the burning of homes and markets. Khan added that the investigation would be conducted under an existing mandate for Darfur dating back to 2005. Elsewhere, Ethiopia and Egypt have agreed to resume talks over a controversial hydroelectric mega dam that Addis Ababa is building over the Blue Nile River. The dam, which is nearing completion, has been at the center of diplomatic spats between the two as an integral part of its plans to electrify millions of homes. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed met Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Cairo, and the two leaders agreed to negotiations over the filling of the dam's reservoir. Reports say the huge reservoir has been filled over the last 3 rainy seasons as the dam wall was built up. Egypt and the other downstream country, Sudan, expressed their opposition to this as it was carried out without a binding agreement between the 3 nations. Meanwhile, the Holy Synod, the top decision-making body of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, is trying to head off a possible split in the community with followers in the northern state of Tigray. At the root of the problems is the church's reaction to the 2-year civil war, mostly fought in Tigray, that ended last November. The conflict led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people and sparked a humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, criticism had been directed towards the church from bishops, priests, and believers in Tigray for not condemning the war. It would be recalled that the bishops of Tigray announced in March that they wanted to separate from the Holy Synod. To Tunisia now, where Ajad Kremi have been in jail for 5 months. Reports say they were among a group of around 20 leading figures arrested in February on charges of plotting against the state. Lawyers said the others had their appeals rejected. Meanwhile, President Said has concentrated power in his hands since he suspended Tunisia's parliament 2 years ago. On the foreign scene, summer has just begun in the northern hemisphere, but a brutal heat wave is already gripping parts of Europe, China, and the United States, where record temperatures expected this weekend are a stark illustration of the dangers of a warming climate. Extreme heat advisories have been issued for more than 100 million Americans, with the National Weather Service forecasting particularly dangerous conditions in Arizona, California, Nevada, and Texas. Several European countries searing temperatures. Meanwhile, Greece said its top tourist attraction, the Acropolis, would close during the hottest hours as temperatures were expected to reach 40 degrees Celsius in Athens. Still on the foreign scene now, Ukraine regional official Mykola Lukashuk says a Russian drone strike on the southern Ukrainian city of Kryvyi Rih today has destroyed buildings belonging to utility and transport companies. The official said 2 residential buildings were also damaged in the attack, and a 56-year-old man was injured. The regional council head added that elsewhere in the Dnipropetrovsk region, a warehouse and a power line in the village of Veliko Mykolivka were damaged in the artillery shelling. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin says Wagner mercenary group head Yevgeny Prigozhin has rejected an offer for his fighters to serve as a unit in the country's army. Putin told newsmen that many group commanders had backed the plan to be led by a senior Wagner figure during recent talks in Moscow. Reports say the talks were held just days after. In the meantime, India has launched a rocket today carrying an unmanned spacecraft to land on the moon, its second attempt to do so as its cut-price space program seeks to reach new heights. Reports say the heavyweight LVM-3M4 rocket lifted off from Sriharikota in the southern state of Andhra Pradesh, carrying the Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft, as thousands of enthusiasts clapped and cheered. Meanwhile, the world's most populous nation has a comparatively low-budget aerospace program that is rapidly closing in on the milestones set by global space powers. Only Russia, the United States, and China have previously achieved a controlled landing on the lunar surface. India's last attempt to do so ended in failure 4 years ago, when ground control lost contact moments before landing. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blessing Dixon.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening. It's business news. My name is Blessing Dixon. In the news, Australia's central bank announced that it will be led by a woman for the first time since it was founded in 1960. Mitchell Bullock will succeed Philip Lowe, who approaches the end of a 7-year term as Governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia. Her appointment comes as the country has been battling rising prices and the Apis Bank is facing a major shake-up. It has raised interest rates to their highest levels in over a decade in a bid to tackle inflation. The Australian financial services industry is male-dominated and has one of the nation's widest gender pay gaps. In Nigeria, Dangote Cement says it has concluded plans to expand its production capacity through the construction of a 6 new metric tons integrated Côte d'Ivoire to ensure cement becomes available in all African countries. According to the group managing director Dangote Cement, Avrid Pathak, when completed, the new plant will strengthen local production of Dangote Cement in Africa. Pathak spoke at the closing gong ceremony on the trading floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited during his introduction as the new group managing director of Dangote Cement to the dealing members of the exchange. These calls apply for review of power tariff. The federal government announced that 11 power distribution companies in Nigeria have applied for a review of their various electricity tariffs in order to incorporate the changes in the macroeconomic parameters across the country. According to a notice published by the Nigerian premised on factors affecting the quality of service, operations, and sustainability of the companies, NERC stated that the application for rate review by the power firms was in line with the rules contained in the Electricity Act 2023. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. Today is the last trading day of the week and the Bourse closed the trading week. The benchmark all-share index shed 179.21 basis points to close at 62,569.73 points, representing a one-week loss of 0.75%. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows the current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 34.1 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 118 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 13 gainers and 57 losers. National Salt Company led the gainers with a 10% share price appreciation, closing at 28 naira 5 kobo per share. On the losing side, Flour Mills Nigeria came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 30 naira 60 kobo per share. Access Holdings recorded the highest volume of 94.2 million traded shares. This is all on business.
Transgender women barred from female events as UCI takes precautionary measure. This step test.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for staying tuned. As we move on now to health, where a World Health Organization agency, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, has declared that aspartame, an artificial sweetener widely used in diet drinks and low-sugar foods, could possibly cause cancer. A press statement made available to newsmen by the global health body noted that IARC classified aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans on the basis of limited evidence for cancer in humans, specifically for hepatocellular carcinoma, which is a type of liver cancer. The WHO agency, however, said aspartame is safe to consume within a daily limit of 40 milligrams per kilogram of a person's beverage products since the 1980s, including diet drinks, chewing gum, gelatin, ice cream, dairy products such as yogurt, breakfast cereal, toothpaste, and medications such as cough drops and chewable vitamins. Still in health, a medical researcher at the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, Yaba, Lagos, Dr. Oluwawemiga Aina, says Nigeria should embrace other malaria prevention measures to avoid the country's exclusion from the list of African countries selected to benefit from the malaria rollout, impacting negatively on the fight against the killer disease. The Deputy Director of Research at the Center for Research in Traditional, Complementary and Alternative Medicine, Biochemistry and Nutrition Department, NIMR, in an interview with newsmen said not having the malaria vaccine will increase the malaria burden if Nigeria fails to step up other interventions. Reports say that Nigeria was excluded from the list of African countries to benefit from the 18 million doses of the first ever SAS01 malaria vaccine rollout from 2023 to 2025. Speaking with newsmen, Dr. Aina said, though Nigeria is a malaria endemic country, the country could also, in the absence of the vaccine, reduce its high malaria burden by increasing testing, treating, and tracking. Let's head over now to Isaac. Isaac, for latest sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Xavier Robert. In sports, World Cycling's governing body has ruled transgender women who are presented from competing in female who has transitioned from male puberty could compete in a men/open category. Female American transgender cyclist Austin Phillips won a UCI women's event 2 months ago. In the wake of that result, the world body reopened consultation on the issue, saying it heard the voice of female athletes and the concerns about an equal playing field for competitors. The UCI has renamed the male category men/open and added any athlete who does not meet the conditions for participation in women's events will be admitted without restriction. Previously, transgender women could compete in elite female events for the 5th successive year, with a dominant win in the last 4 over Yannick Sinner. Second seed Djokovic won 6-3, 6-4, 7-6, 7-4 against the Italian 18, leaving him 1 victory away from a record equaling 8 men's title. The 36-year-old Serb could also earn a record equaling 24th major title. Djokovic would play either Spanish top seed Carlos Alcaraz or Russian third seed Daniil Medvedev in Sunday's final, which has reached his 9th Wimbledon showpiece. It will also be a record 30th Grand Slam final appearance after he surpassed the tally previously shared with American Chris Evert. Djokovic has not lost a completed match at Wimbledon since 2016 and has not been beaten in centre court since 2013. Well, in football, Arsenal have completed the signing of Dutch defender Jurien Timber from Ajax for £34 million. Timber's fee could rise to £38.5 million, and the 22-year-old joins on a long-term deal. He will further bolster Arsenal's defence after centre-back William Saliba agreed a new 4-year contract. The versatile Dutch defender, the Dutch national team, including 4 at the World Cup, where he helped Louis van Gaal's side reach the quarterfinals. Timber said he has always been a fan of Arsenal, which stemmed from his brother's love for the club. Well, finally, ex-Manchester City footballer Benjamin Mendy has been cleared of raping a woman and attempting to rape another. The 28-year-old was accused of attacking a 24-year-old woman at his £4 million mansion in Moultram, St. Anthony, at his home 2 years before. It comes after he was cleared of 6 rapes at an earlier trial in January. The France international broke down in tears as the not guilty verdict were read out by the jury foreman following a 3-week trial at Chester Crown Court. The jury of 6 men and 6 women deliberated for about 3 hours and 15 minutes before reaching the conclusion. But that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Over now to Simon Oko for trending entertainment news.
Thank you, Isaac. In the world of entertainment, Nigerian record producer and music executive Michael Collins, popularly known as Don Jazzy, has finally reacted to the rumors that he is secretly married with 4 children. There have been speculations that the Maven boss, not known to be in any romantic relationship, is secretly married with 4 children. Reacting in an interview, Don Jazzy said the rumors were untrue. Don Jazzy said he has also heard ridiculous rumors that he's gay and that why he's not married. Remember that in 2021, Don Jazzy revealed that he got married to American model Michelle Jackson in 2003 at the age of 20, but they divorced 2 years after. Don Jazzy also revealed that he is destined to be a star maker. The Maven head honcho said he has a divine mandate to help people generally. He went on to say that legendary musician Daddy Shoki was his role model while growing up in Ajegunle, Lagos State. He said he was inspired by Daddy before he couldn't afford studio sessions then. The music executive also revealed why he didn't sign Afrobeat poster boys, Wizkid and Davido to his now defunct record label, More Hits. The Maven head honcho said he couldn't sign Wizkid to the label because EME boss Banky W got to the Starboy before him. He said he had the opportunity of signing Davido, but didn't because he figured out that he would succeed without a record label support. Don Jazzy also regretted not signing Simi and Tenny. He said he almost signed rapper Files the Bad Guy, but the deal broke down. A woman by accident. She said the pain of losing the 3 most important persons in her life, her mother, her father, and a very close friend, made her start singing. The former Banky W signee said that she never wanted to be a celebrity. She said leaving Banky W's record label EME wasn't a happy ending. Neola, however, said her exit from the label gave her the opportunity to start afresh. Moving forward, Nigerian artist Bella Shmurda and other celebrities were allegedly attacked during Pokoli's concert yesterday within the Lagos State University premises. In a now trending video, Shmurda is seen being escorted out of the school premises by his security detail after reportedly being assaulted in the VIP section of the concert. The singer can be seen pushing his way with the help of security through the students crowding them outside. The party with Pokoli homecoming concert was supposed to be a fun and relaxing night with a lineup of entertainment planned. This all crumbled as the show was disrupted halfway in, allegedly by suspected cultists. In another video, up-and-coming artist Odumodu Black is captured running out of the chaotic scene. As seen in yet another video recorded by a student, the guest artist Pokoli addressed the concert goers inside the auditorium, calling them out on their unruly behavior. He asked them how they expect anyone to return to the school if they continue being unruly and disorganized. The Boroba Mawa Hall was filled beyond its seating capacity of 2,500 people, with over 10,000 tickets reportedly sold for the show. This was reportedly the cause of the scuffle within and outside the hall, as many took it upon themselves to barge into the center. In another trending video, a scuffle within the VIP seating area was recorded. Let's take a walk now into the international scene. Lisa Marie Presley's cause of death has been revealed. Priscilla and Elvis Presley's daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, died at the age of 54 on the 12th of January following a sudden hospitalization. Now her cause of death has been shared. More details are emerging about the tragic death of Elvis Presley's only child 6 months after her passing. Lisa Marie Presley died at the age of 54 on the 12th of January following a medical emergency that required hospitalization. Her mother, Priscilla Presley, previously shared. Now, her cause of death has been revealed as complications resulting from small bowel obstruction, according to records from the County of Los Angeles Medical Examiner. Small bowel obstructions are blockages in the small intestine that can be caused by numerous factors, including hernias, inflammatory disease, or tumors, per the Cleveland Clinic. In Lisa Marie's case, she suffered from a strangulated small bowel that was caused by adhesion that developed after she had bariatric surgery, a type of weight loss surgery that changes the digestive system. That was done years ago, according to an autopsy report obtained on the 13th of July. That's it on entertainment. My name is Simon Oko. Back to the news.
That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific weekend. Good night.